Hi everybody, I'm Jack the Rambling Raconteur, and I hope you're doing well. It is the last Sunday before the month of May in 2021, so I want to do my maybe Midrash TBR video. I've even got my Lion of St. Mark's t-shirt on that I got when I went to Venice with my wife. And so maybe Midrash was an event that started last year. It was a brainchild from Jason Oldblu's Chapter and Verse. The goal being read one work of fiction and one work of nonfiction, each dealing with religion in some way, and just contemplating the intersections of those ideas. Jason is again hosting along with Felicia at Little Prairie Library and Steve Donahue, and they're joined this year by Rick McDonald. I'll link all their channels in the description box below. And this year from fiction, I'm going to be reading Gilead by Marilynne Robinson. Very excited to read this. Marilynne Robinson is a fantastic writer. I have not read this from her yet. I've kind of been saving it. And I'm curious to see how closely the experiences of the Reverend, who sort of is like this stream conscious narrator in Gilead, hew to my own experiences, in my own faith experiences. So I'm very excited for that. And I think it's going to pair really well with my nonfiction choice, which is The Courage to Be by Paul Tillich. Tillich was a huge influence on Martin Luther King Jr., so there's a great connection. And these started out as a series of lectures that he then sort of reworked into this, they're not quite essays. They are joined together around a unifying theme, but I'm very excited to read this. I believe this is from the 1950s, is when he actually gave, 1952. And I think those will dovetail really well because you have two, the character in Gilead and then Tillich himself sort of trying to reconcile ideas around faith in the 20th century and what has happened in the 20th century and trying to understand that. So I'm looking forward to those. But I'm going to kind of I want to say push myself, but I have some other reading experiences in May that I'm looking forward to that are going to, align to maybe Midrash. So I am almost finished with reading Attar's Conference of the Birds, rereading. This is an amazing, amazing, amazing work. It is I'll be talking about it probably this week before the month is out. But that is in part preparation to be jumping into reading I, Lala, the Poems of Lal Ded, who is a 14th century Kashmiri mystic, Lal Ded. And there's about 142 poems in here. So I'm going to be reading about 5 each day and sort of just exploring what they look like to give a sample of why I'm excited to be reading this book. I've been saving this since Christmas. You won't find the truth by crossing your legs and holding your breath. Daydreams won't take you through the gateway of release. You can stir as much salt as you like in water. It won't become the sea. And again, I think that's going to pair really well with my readings. Another one. When the dirt was wiped away from my mind's mirror, people knew me for a lover of God. When I saw him there, so close to me, he was all, I was nothing. So I'll be reading this across the full month for a little maybe Midrash poetry. It's sort of like the secret menu that we didn't all know existed. And then for drama, I'm going to read Brand by Henrik Ibsen, which deals with a character who, again, I feel is, to a certain extent, aligning really well with the Reverend from Gilead and even Paul Tillich and the questions that Brand is asking in the play. And this is translated by Michael Meyer. I've found that I really enjoy his translations of Ibsen. And this is an earlier play from Ibsen, 1860s, I believe, and it was one of his verse plays, if I remember correctly. So I'm very excited to read that as well. So those are my official, I'm going to be reading these in May. Two others that might jump out. One is Patrick Leigh Fermore's Time to Keep Silence. He's famous for his long travelogue series of books where he walked across Europe, continental Europe, as a young man right before World War II and sort of saw a world that was about to be obliterated. This is a series of travel writings in which he visits a bunch of monasteries in Europe. And I'm really, it's short, but Fermore's an amazing writer, and I think this is going to be really interesting. And then this is the if I get there. But I'll probably be reading this at some point this year. But it might be wrapped in May or possibly early June. But I have, finally, both the male and female editions of A Dictionary of the Khazars by Milorad Pavic, and it's a lexicon novel. It is an experimental novel. It's very strange and weird. I've read it before, cover to cover, and I think, this time I might try to read it and read the entries from, because it's a lexicon novel where the entries are grouped by, there's Christian entries, Jewish entries, Islamic entries, and it's set around, what was happening in this experience for the Khazars right before like the whole culture disappeared. And so characters will have characters within this lexicon novel will have an entry across all three, or perhaps across two of them, and so you can cross-reference. And I might this time, as I read it, jump across, like if it's somebody who's in all three, read all three entries and then go back to the first section and continue reading until there's a cross-reference to jump across. I don't know, I might just read it cover to cover again. But this is an amazing work, again, that really, I think, gives a reader an experience of many different, ideas around religion and human faith. So there's my maybe Midrash TBR. Let me know what you're reading, and I'll certainly be talking about these books across next May. So have a good one, everybody. Thanks.